Now, what we do know is that rebels from the Tripoli underground movement have been complaining about their Benghazi colleagues giving the go-ahead to the International Criminal Court to allow the Gaddafi, his sons, and the brother-in-law, Abdullah al-Sanusi, who's also the head of military intelligence, if they were to be captured, that they'd be sent to The Hague to be tried. Now, that didn't go down well at all with the rebels in the west part of the country. They want those men to be tried in Libya. And it just shows you the problems in terms of the day-to-day leadership of a rebel movement that doesn't clearly have a sort of significant leader as such. It's a movement riddled with divisions from those from the east versus those from the west, those with a more secular viewpoint versus those who are more Islamist, political leaders who also themselves have fractious militias. So yes, it's going to be very hard to bring those groups together. Certainly Americans and the NATO officials have been working hard for the NTC leadership in Benghazi to sort of map out some sort of cohesive strategy, but whether that's going to be able to play out in the next few days, weeks, months, we'll have to wait and see.
Let's talk a little bit about NATO. I mean, a few details beginning to emerge of other things that they might have been involved in, as well as just this bombing campaign.
Well, it's an open secret that NATO countries were providing those rebel troops with all sorts of assistance, certainly covert assistance and intelligence backup. And we do know that diplomats have acknowledged that teams from France, Britain and even Eastern European countries were providing critical assistance to the rebel leadership. The aid, we know, involved providing them with security advisors, air controllers, damage assessment experts and other analysts. Foreign military advisors on the ground were absolutely crucial in ensuring that real-time intelligence was being provided to rebel troops. The other big part of all this was the use of those US military drones, the Predators, which were giving constant updated information. They were surveying those Gaddafi troops, where they were going, where they were heading, where they were stockpiling their weapons. And the other important element of all this was training, and we saw that in the last few weeks, that clearly it started to become a more moderately effective force as opposed to what we'd seen in the early part of the campaign.
Given what the situation seems to be on the ground now, a lot of governments have been very keen to say that they're not going to get troops involved in Libya. What about the possibility of the international peacekeeping force, though? Because it does appear that might be a necessity. Yeah,
well, the White House has already said that they don't want to commit any troops and certainly are not interested in even in a peacekeeping role. NATO officials so far have been very reluctant to give any indication that they will field a peacekeeping force in order to help the rebels secure a non-violent transition to a new national government. But we've been talking about this for the last few days, Stuart. I mean, this is a country that has 140-plus tribes. It's a divided rebel movement, not to mention the opportunity for revenge and the fact it's a large country, sparse population, which provides an ideal opportunity for guerrilla warfare. US officials have insisted that they're committed to help install a democratic government, but the reality is, how are you going to do that? And especially given now with the financial situation facing both the Eurozone and Washington, you can see that politically the idea of suddenly being enmeshed long-term in a country such as Libya is not that attractive. But yet again, having seen what we have seen in the last few days, it does beg the question is, surely at some point there's going to be a sort of an independent international peacekeeping force required in order to help restore law and order.